Hey guys, welcome back to The Noble Broker. I am your host, Jonathan Lickstein. On The Noble Broker, we welcome producers and professionals in the real estate industry because we are more than pretty people who sell pretty homes. We do more than show houses. We are real people with real passions and hobbies and interests and insight into this industry and this world. So today I want to welcome a true professional, my friend Jorge Guerra, broker owner of Real Estate Salesforce in Miami. And thank you for welcoming us into your office here in beautiful Coral Gables.
Listen, thank you for making the drive. As I said, for coming over here, I got you some Cuban pastelitos and a little tequila, as I heard in your other podcast that you're a big fan of. So
I'm a big tequila guy.
Thank you for the drive. I hope that at least you can take some home with you.
A true Miami welcome, greeted with espresso and tequila with a full salt rim.
There you go.
I'm treated like a king walking in the door. I love this. So George, let's dive right in. Who is the man? Where did you come from? How did you become who you are today? The family, the father, the businessman.
All right, great question. So you know what? I would have to go back in time to my parents. And my story here in Miami is common. I'm a son of political prisoners, or let me rephrase it, political immigrants who came over here with nothing. Think that from a very young age, it was very important to them to teach us what it was to work hard, what it was to be a man of your word, and what it was to be consistent. So when I look forward to the man that you see here today, I see a product of immigrants who came over here and gave their all for their kids to be successful. And for me, I stand on their shoulders. I have a lot of things that they opportunities that they gave me to succeed, that I want to make sure that I follow through. So you're looking at a man with a lot of pressure that really wants to succeed, that grew up with a father and a mother who worked hard to keep their family together. And for me, that's super important. If you follow me on social media, on Facebook, one of the things that I like to highlight besides, our professional successes is my family, my wife and my kids. If you dig a little bit deeper, you see that we take our business personal. So my wife is very involved. My kids, when they're out of school, they're volunteering, with our charity events, where they're getting involved in our business from the back end. So you know what, George is really somebody who, was very grateful to be in this country, knows what it is to really work hard and make it, and lives every single day like if he doesn't have it. It's probably the best way to tell you.
I love hearing that perspective, and it's funny when you talk to all different types of people in our industry and outside, really, depending on where they came from and the familial composition of where they came from. It's a different story and a different perspective on everything in life. I grew up American family, Northern Virginia, nothing exciting, special, or exotic about it. And you go through and you take a lot of the values that you learn as a child and you grow up. Whereas there's different expectations when you come from, and I hate to say it this way, but when you come from an immigrant family.
Listen, absolutely.
And your parents had to sacrifice and break themselves in order to get to this point that you value the opportunities a little bit more than the next guy.
But listen, not only do you value the opportunities, but more important, you see the impossible become possible. When you see somebody come into a country, not speak the language, put their head down, work, and become successful, that's inspirational. That's motivational. To me, that takes away a lot of the excuses that you put in your mind when you look back and you see what they've accomplished. And again, for me, I can't give you enough thanks to the work ethic, to the way that we were raised, how strict we were. I tell people this all the time. I grew up with a father who was a hard laborer, a mother who was a housewife, and we grew up with a simple mentality. George, you're going to be a doctor. George, you're going to be an attorney. Pick one, and then you can do whatever you want after that. And to give you a little history, fast forward, my brother and my sister are both doctors. So I think that rhetoric, really did penetrate within my family.
And that's generational regardless of where you came from or the familial composition. I'm the first one in my family not to be an attorney in multiple generations.
Lucky you. I've never met an attorney that I liked.
Well, knock on wood that I'm still that way on the other side of this. But anyway, going in a little bit deeper. So your childhood made you become a little bit of how you are today. How do you take those lessons learned and apply those father to father here to your kids to not let them lose sight of what happened in the generation before them?
You know what? It's tough. And I was hearing Chris Rock's show yesterday. Did you hear it?
I watched it last night.
So you saw, I'm rich, but I identify as poor. And my kids, are identifying as rich. Not that I am rich to begin with, period. But I think that how do I do it? Father to father. I'm inventing as I go, to be honest with you. I'm looking at the lessons that I learned from my parents, asking myself what I liked, what I didn't like, and and looking at this new norm, which is a different landscape than what our parents had to work with, and just sticking it hard when it comes to integrity, sticking it hard when it comes to consistency, and making sure that they understand that in this world, your word is something that's very strong. Even though we sign contracts, there's a lot of people in our industry that don't play by the rules. I think that building up your reputation, building up who you are, the quality of your character is just the things that I focus on, and everything else falls where it falls. Father to father, that's my strategy.
If you don't have your word, what do you really have at the end of the day?
You know what? Nothing. And I can tell you this, I have two wild boys. And luckily, I'm with my wife, so we're both very hands-on parents. We're involved in their school, we're involved in their sports. I think one of the biggest luxuries of our industry is that it allows you to be involved. As a matter of fact, the more successful you are, the more involved you are, because that's a tremendous revenue source of leads when it comes to that.
100%.
So I think that not only is being a man of your word very important, working hard, but obviously, reaping what you create, and family for me is the number one thing. And believe it or not, as hard as I work, as involved as I am, it's a mirage to really get to spend as much time as I can, with my kids.
So family man, businessman, all looped into one. That line between the personal life and the professional life goes away when you become a real estate agent, but B, even more so, the broker that's kind of showing face about your company and creating the image. You are the image of your company.
Definitely. Unfortunately, when you have my role, you work Monday through Sunday, and it's the life that I chose, and it's the one that I enjoy the most. For me, I've been very lucky that, for the last 17 years that I've been a broker, I haven't worked a day in my life. I enjoy the phone calls. I enjoy the challenges. I enjoy, the deal making, the art making. So to me, I haven't worked in almost 17 years. And again, it's the life that I chose. Monday through Friday, I'm very hands-on. I enjoy the creation of agents. I enjoy the deal making. I enjoy the flexibility. I enjoy the people that I meet within the industry.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So next year, your career will reach legal age of 18. If you could go backwards and tell yourself something on day one when you were first getting into it, what is a piece of advice you would give yourself on day one?
Great question. And you know what? Honestly, I would never turn back time, because a lot of the lessons that I learned through those situations. But in a perfect world, I would tell myself, risk less when I was younger. I'd be more financially responsible. And I say that only because, I was lucky enough to ride the boom. So if you read my bio, I tell people I was born in the boom, but raised in the crash. And during the boom, I started in 1999. I was 19 years old. Think that, there was months when I was 24, 25 that I was making $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a year. And I didn't invest it. I didn't have a financial IQ on what to do with that money. When you see all the rappers and all the celebrities, I had the same financial education as they did. I never thought it was going to end. I thought it was always going to keep on going, and I was spending way more than I was producing. So think that if I can turn back time, I'd be much smarter. I wouldn't leverage what I wouldn't be able to manage. It's probably the best way to do that. That is my only regret. Besides that, I jumped into the business very early, very cavalierish, with no fear. And I think it was my youth and my inexperience that allowed me to take that venture, which paid off, with time, to be honest with you. And
you've become the person you are today because of decisions you've made along the way. So
you know what? I'm the person that I am today because of the tuition that I paid within my industry, good or bad.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about the real estate industry and the market itself right now.
Talk to me.
This is an interesting time, right? There's disruptors that are trying to come into our industry. There's lawsuits about the way that we operate and do business. There's organizations forming to attack the role of realtors and really just try and change the landscape of business. So what are some of these what's one issue that's on point right now that you feel like could be a big impact or you're keeping your eye on?
So you know what? I think right now, we've had a lot of tech industries really collapse and fail with a lot of misconceptions that they've seen within our market. So I think we've seen a lot of tech try, and we've seen a lot of tech fail. When I look at my industry, there's few things that work, and there's less things that work without people behind them.
True.
So for me, that human component, it's a big deal. I think there's going to be a change in how tech looks at us moving forward. I don't see any of the tech out there right now being a big threat within my industry, except for one.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Bomb drop.
Except for one. And you're probably going to only hear it here only. And it's Airbnb and VRBO.
Interesting. That's not at all what I expected to hear.
I know. Check out my angle. Are you ready for this? So I think once you empower a consumer to do a short-term rental, which to me is probably one of the hardest transactions in the history of real estate, I think you're in trouble. I think what stops an Airbnb from saying, don't rent here, how about buy? So I think they're one click away from having a product that you can try before you buy. I think it's very powerful. And I think that right now they have the eye of the consumer. When you look at investment properties, everybody's leaning to what can Airbnb do for me? So they have the eye of the consumer. What stops them from putting a price tag at the end of it? Nothing. And for me, I think that, it's going to be one of the biggest worries for me. It's when I can try, when a company that focuses on short-term rentals can now just flip a switch and say, instead of going to the Keys and staying in this beautiful waterfront resort, why not buy it for $2 million? Here's the financing, and here's the gross rent multiplier that a property like this on the Airbnb can produce. I think that's very enticing and very attractive.
I mean, we live in an on-demand society where if I want it, I want to do it now. I don't want to wait the 30 to 45 days that it takes to close on a home right now. I've always thought that timeline will shorten and will shorten and will shorten, and whatever title underwriter and mortgage company that can kind of figure this out and turn it into a frictionless online experience where a consumer can decide and later on that day go get their home. There's going to be somebody who solves and closes that gap.
I think that they're going to have to fight the mortgage lenders and the title companies, before they fragment those services.
Well, there's a title company underwriter right now that's, if you want to refi your home, they can do it within 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
They can insure the title on a refi within a couple hours. And they're working on a rapid approval for new purchases as well, for reissues or new title policies. So it's all about taking the paper documents, the historical archives, and all these different segmented aspects that go into writing title insurance and digitizing all of this into a certain percentage of where you can feel confident that you're making the right decisions, right? So much of our industry is now taken online. So taking that same concept, if you can do a refi in a couple hours, you might be able to do a new purchase in 2-3 days. And that's already 10% of where we are right now.
Absolutely.
So I could see that leaning into what your concern is. But there's a big difference of spending $2,000 on an Airbnb and spending $2 million on that house.
I'm not saying it's here. I'm just saying that when I look at the threats out there, I look at, some of the big tech companies that focus on search, and I think search is where they've maxed out. I find that business model of short-term rentals, giving you a high cap rate or a good return and then putting a sale price, to me, that makes more sense of any of the tech. Like if I were to go all in, that would be my favorite tech to go all into right now.
Interesting.
Call me crazy.
And where you live down here in Miami, we're in beautiful Miami right now. This is great. First recording in Miami-Dade County. When you're in Miami in an area that house hacking and people buying their first homes and renting out a certain portion of it or the second side of a duplex or turning those into having multiple investment properties that you're doing vacation rentals with, that's becoming more popular in areas that are populated like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm, the Keys, right?
Absolutely.
All up and down. And you've got on the opposite side the legislation and the municipalities that are trying to fight and push all this out. How would you feel if you had your next door neighbor doing Airbnb right next to you?
So you know what? I obviously wouldn't be very happy with my next door neighbor having Airbnb right next to me, but I also wouldn't be happy with my neighbor losing his property rights either. I think we have to strike a fair balance when it comes to what we can do when we buy property. And, to me, I have a hard time when government interferes with my ability to take care of my assets and my businesses. And I definitely understand, when it comes to my neighbors And I think there's, associations and condos that are designed to protect that. And if you don't, then you have to open yourself up to that possibility. But I do think that the world has changed. And I think that, fractional living it's going to be the new rich. I don't think people are going to want to buy permanent places. I think they're going to want to spend a month in Europe, and a month in Mexico, and a month over here. And I think Airbnb is going to lend itself to that. And then Airbnb is going to play, the same rules that real estate plays, which is location, location, location.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Location, location, location.
I didn't pay you to say that one. I didn't.
Oh,
I
listen.
swear.
And for the record, location, the company, one of my favorite brands out there. I think there's very few companies out there that are moving at your speed, innovating at your speed, and giving the agents, the value that they really deserve. So kudos to that.
Appreciate that, man.
Free marketing there. Listen, you got to game recognize this game when they see it, and you guys are doing it awesome. So congrats on that.
I have to tell you, I have stolen a couple ideas from watching some of your stuff. So
Listen, I think we're all in the same, in the same industry, and if we improve each other, we only hire the industry.
They say imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery.
There you go.
I'll take that.
There you
I'll take
go.
that.
All right.
So I want to go back to Airbnbs. This is a great topic. I enjoy this very much. But what you just mentioned about the fractional ownership and taking that out to different areas, you could buy a month in Europe, a month in California, a month in Key West, and then Airbnb your rights during that time. It turns your investment capabilities into kind of diversifying that across.
Listen, the world has changed. The way we look at real estate, I think, it's shifting. We're learning as we go. We're inventing as we go. Like I say, but I think it's interesting. And I think, again, what we've been seeing and in markets that we work in, the Keys. The Keys, you go there and you buy a house there, and the gross rate multiplier is 6 years.
It's crazy.
You get your money back in 6 years. Yeah. You can't go anywhere here and buy a multifamily and get that same return. And there you come out of there with a house on the water. Are you kidding me? And somebody else is paying for all your stuff. So I think when you look at these new investment vehicles, the game has changed, and you have to sort of pay attention and follow the trend.
So you just opened an office in the Keys, right?
So you know what? I have 2 offices in the Keys. I have one in the public shopping center, and we have one in mile marker 97 that we just opened up. We actually bought that location, and the front of it is Overseas Highway, and the back of it, you're gonna love this, is actually a canal leading out to the ocean.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's a place to keep the boat.
So I think we have 3 docks in the back. So I tell my agents, you can come by the front or come by the back. You tell me how. And when it comes to our clients, if they need to store a boat or they need to store, an RV there, there's parking there as well. But think that, we've been practicing in the Keys for almost 7 years, and we're looking for more of a permanent place. And that one came up. It was available for purchase right before the interest rates jumped up, and we totally took advantage of that.
A real estate company needs to open and own real estate for their offices.
Listen, speaking about other great companies, when I look at, another competitor of ours, Kai's, they do a great job of buying their own real estate. And when you look at, the history of a company like that that's been around for 90 years, when you look at a lot of their success, you can't negate the fact that they own their own buildings, and when the market went down, they didn't have to close up and they were able to stay alive, where they got a lot of their biggest growth. So to me, it's just being smart. If I'm paying rent, I'm paying my own stuff, or at least I'm going to try to pay my own stuff. And,
If not, your landlord isn't such a mean guy.
And listen, for all the realtors out there, real estate teams and real estate brokers, our biggest overhead, is rent. And if we can mitigate that or pay ourselves rent, I think we're one step ahead of the game.
It's savvy business operations is what we're going to call that one.
Yeah, I'll take it.
So going a little bit further, talking more about the local market. It's been an interesting time. The market, stock market, cryptocurrency markets, investment markets have all kind of dropped over the last year. We all experienced during the pandemic a crazy market. It was feast or famine. It was an absolute feast during that time. And all of a sudden, click, follow up another day, and the market's shut. Investment markets, stock markets, cryptocurrency markets. And Miami is a hub or a capital in the Southeast United States, actually the whole United States, for cryptocurrency. How do you feel that these market shifts, especially the cryptocurrency, is going to change the way that Miami real estate could be operated, or the desirability of Miami real estate?
So great question. And my observation, working here in South Florida, was when it came to the crypto market, there was a lot of talk. We had seminars and classes on crypto's exchange for real estate, and I'm going to be very honest with you, I saw very little to none of it. When I would talk to people with great crypto holdings, they would talk about what an upward momentum that it had, that they would never sell their crypto to buy real estate, and and if anything, they would leverage some of their crypto to get it, but they were still strong on holding it. I think that South Florida is bigger than crypto. I think when you look at South Florida and you just break it down, from a common sense perspective, we have a strong local market. We have a huge international market that has been strong forever. 20% of my market has always been international. Think that when COVID came and you said, all shit hit the fan, let me break the bad word here.
No worries,
when,
you got
when,
it.
when all shit hit
Ice
the fan, I think, we learned what everybody learned. That, hey, you know what? Home is the most important thing out there. And you know what? How can I secure my home? And it became a big deal there. I don't think that's gone away. And when I look at my international market, they're still buying. They're not interest rate affected. They're usually a cash buyer. When I look at the other demographics that came down during that same time period, my New Yorkers, my Chicagos, my people from California, when they're still coming down. And when you look at their prices, you can't even compare it to South Florida. We're still cheap. So I think that we are an anomaly when it comes to our market. Whatever we hear on the national news isn't playing out here. There's still very little, huge demand, very little inventory, very little construction. Interest rates gone up, construction costs have gone up. So I think that people are still fighting over the same inventory, and we're still growing month to month. So for me, I don't see an end in sight. I think when you look at our business climate, when you look at our weather, when you look at our lifestyle, businesses now, are now, giving Miami as a value proposition. Hey, come over here, you get to live that Miami lifestyle or South Florida lifestyle. I think it's very, very popular.
I had to unbutton one more button when I crossed from Broward County to Dade County, so I could feel like I was part of it.
Listen, if you have to unbutton another one, you can go ahead.
Well, we're going to keep this PG-13, so I'll keep it close. But what I love about seeing different trends that come about, like the cryptocurrencies, the fractionalized ownership, the Airbnb stuff, it always lends towards a new idea or a new concept that grows bigger for something else.
Now, what I am keeping an eye on is the tokenization of real estate. That to me,
that's where I was going.
Yeah, that turns me on. Like, to me, I like that. Let's break it up. Let's give everybody a small little piece. Let's make them part owner. Let's make it easy transferable. I love the thought of buying a trophy property with a bunch of people and owning it. To me, that's interesting and attractive for me.
When you think about the stock market and how volatile it can be going up and down, and people who play in and out of it every single day, what doesn't go down over a long period of time? It's real estate. And the problem with real estate investing for so many people in our country and even internationally is the barrier of entry to get in, to start. And you can build over time. But using that concept, the tokenization of real estate, if it can be more widely applied, then someone can get in for, I don't know, $500, $5,000, $50,000.
And like you said, it's just about getting in.
Correct.
It's just about getting in. I think this, when you empower, those that can, the opportunity too, I think it opens up, a huge opportunity of innovation, a huge opportunity, for changing the business and giving more people opportunity to grow their wealth. So for me, the minute I learned about it, the minute I saw some examples that they had throughout the nation and the talk, to me, it's always got my interest. And obviously what I'm waiting for is, some real players, with some real properties, and see how it really lays out over time. But that to me is where my eyes would definitely be in besides Airbnb.
It's a scary proposition to look at and think about. If you're entrusting your money into an organization or a product or a program that has to then turn around and take that little piece you've given them along with little pieces of countless other people, could be 10, could be 100, could be 10,000 different people, depending on the type of property and the value, right? And apply and manage and operate with so many elements of risk involved in between and insurances, and it's just so highly regulated that there's kind of this barrier that somebody's got to figure out, and then you and I are going to be buyer 1 and 2, getting in on that gigantic multifamily property for whatever X amount of money that we don't have $500 million to go throw around and go buy ourselves.
No, but I want to say I'm part owner of it.
Exactly.
Part owner of it. I want a piece of it. I want to, especially if I believe in the area and I believe in the returns, if I'm able to get any part of it, it'd be interesting. When I look at all the big deals here in South Florida, you only hear about them. when they're done. You know, how cool would it be to get in there
be part of it.
from the ground floor? Hey, I have this idea. Be part of the genesis. I think it's very powerful.
And not even doing the deal, it's the long term, it's the recurring revenue that happens.
Listen, you imagine passing those tokens on to your kids in the future. How cool would that be?
Inheritance.
Tax free.
Here's your will. You got a home, a couple cars,
A couple tokens.
X bank account, and 35 tokens in that 500 unit multifamily complex in Coral Gables.
Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy?
That's talk about a legacy. Let's talk tech. In my eyes, you're the king of branding and technology. You present your company and your agents and your own business in a really, really unique way. Where do you see online marketing going? It's, you know, we've gone from cell phone pictures to professional photographers and Matterport, this new giraffe thing that's out there.
So you know what? I when I've been looking at the landscape of tech, there's three things that I'm really keening on. You know, number one is AI, which is artificial intelligence, and we've seen the boom of ChatGPT and what it can do for our listings. You know, how we can organize our thoughts, put it together, and really create an endless amount of opportunities to market your property any which way, from, you know, create a post for my social media to write me a YouTube script. You know, you can really go as crazy as you want.
It's mind-blowing.
Listen, so I think from an owner's perspective, from an agent's perspective, that's one of those tools that won't go away, that you're going to always add to it, and that needs to be part of your arsenal. The other one that I've been playing with is virtual reality. And for me, you know, we've been playing around with a 360 cam, and you know, when a couple Christmases ago, my son got an Oculus, and I bought it for him, and I told him, Alec, you know, when you're done playing with it, let me see it. And he wouldn't let me see it for 2 days. So I caught him one day passed out in the couch, and I took his Oculus and I put it on. And
Was he wearing it when he passed out?
No, it wasn't. It was fully charged on the side. But I'll never forget that when I put on the goggles, you know, first of all, I tried a fishing app, which I was the happiest guy in the world in the couch for 30 minutes. All I needed was a cold one in my hand. But once I got through fishing, I went into the YouTube theater. And, you know, I remember seeing a gardener walk through his garden and show me his garden. And I recall vividly, you know, I would turn my Oculus to the side, and I would see the hairs in his ears. And I would look down, and I would see the fruit tree he was describing. And I felt like I was in, you know, the garden with him. So I told myself that Christmas, you know, I'm going to buy myself, you know, so for me, I like to pay tuition in order to learn. I said, I'm going to go buy myself a 360 camera. I'm going to, you know, Google some, you know, classes on how to edit 360 video. And I wanted to produce my first 360 video, and I did. And not only did I do it, you know, we produced a couple other ones, and I think they're awesome. I think they're super fun. The agents love them. They're super easy. And, you know, just from a luxury perspective, the tech isn't there, but just to be able to say, if I'm going after a luxury listing, hey, most of your demographics have a VR. Let me tell you, we produce for them, and they can experience this anywhere in the world. You know, I think it's super cool. The last thing that we are playing with is AR, augmented reality. So augmented reality allows us to have our business cards come alive, to have our flyers come alive, and it's just creating a world where a world didn't exist. So for me, you know, I think that we are capped from a tech perspective of what we're able to create. I think the next world is going into the augmented world, where I get a brochure and I scan my phone and my iPad, and a floor plan pops out, more pictures pop out, or a VR, or an agent telling me a story, or a map coming out. So for me, you know, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and virtual reality are the three spaces that I'm going to tell you, let's keep our eye on it, because I think that, you know, when the consumer is looking for innovation, or more importantly, when we're looking to wow our consumer in an industry that is sort of losing its wow, you know, to me, those are the three places that I've been going to, that have been giving me that feeling, you know, inside my body, saying, man, this is some cool stuff coming up.
Now we're going to go back to AI, but before we get there, augmented reality. I want our listeners to remember, you never know where this shit's going to come from.
You never know.
You mentioned to me about AR a couple months ago, and the one that you showed me, which was this interactive business card that would then appear within the world around you, right? Where did that come from? Where did you hear about that?
So you know what?
Just a rough idea.
So online, I went to the end of the internet one night. And, you know, I saw a logo in augmented reality, and I saw it appear in the middle of some guy's living room, you know, spinning around. And I told myself, how hard can this be? And like you alluded to earlier, I have a big tech background. I've been editing video photography and putting things together for a very long time. And I went to a Google search and I typed in, augmented reality, and I did a tutorial. And I want to say that I maybe spent 3 to 4 days straight in the tutorial in my mornings. I wake up at 4 in the morning, so I'll give myself an hour and a half of that tutorial. And within 4 days, I felt like I understood the program. And for me, I have to pay tuition. I got to put my head in there before I can delegate it or teach anybody how to do it. So once I figured out, hey, you know what, I can work this machine. The next question was, can I bring artwork in? Can I bring all this stuff in? And it took me maybe a couple more days to bring that in. And then at that point, it was, I know how to bring it in. I know how to design it. Now, how creative can I get with this? And I'm going to tell you that we went crazy. We did just sold signs that were real sold signs that you can hold in your hand that were huge, but that were fake. We did the key just sold, where you had a piece of paper and a QR code and it would just appear in front of you. So if you didn't have the big key in your closing,
you just hold a piece of paper.
Just print out a QR code and it just appears on your thing. So, we went crazy. Now, to be honest with you, as crazy as we went, we realized that, hey, we might be too advanced. We might be too early for this. But we definitely got to keep an eye out. We definitely got to keep on innovating. But when this comes, we definitely want to be prepared with our stuff.
The point to take away from this is, just because it's not mainstream in real estate, look outside of real estate. Discover things that are being done, innovations that are being made outside of our industry, and think about how you could apply it for your own business and your own brand.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the keys as well. And like you, I keep my eye out as well. Always looking at what's going on outside, seeing how I can bring it in. Unfortunately, real estate, when you have as much money in our industry and as much commission and as much innovation, believe it or not, that we're one of those industries that is cutting edge. We are at the speed of now.
We have to be. So let's go back. AI, ChatGPT, it's hot right now. It's the sexy topic. It's the new cryptocurrency conversation. It is what's happening now. And agents, realtors, and many brokers tend to wait until it becomes mainstream before they follow through and follow in. Take TikTok, for example. There are very few people that were adopting in the beginning, and those who did reap the benefits now,
Definitely.
while everyone else is trying to catch up. So ChatGPT, the limit of what you can get done in there is only created by yourself.
Absolutely.
What I find absolutely incredible is the days of agents trying to come up with buyer guides, seller guides, descriptions on properties, top 10 things to know when you're buying a home, how to walk a buyer. And here's one we tested this morning: working with a buyer from A to Z.
Wow.
And just simply typed that into ChatGPT, because you got to constantly refresh your training material, check it out, get some food for thought. And that took it as literally alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way through, as using literation.
Stop it.
Going with A.
A, appraise your property.
Yes.
B, be back. Cheers.
And it took you all the way through with the letter X being explain. And it gave you that little dad joke nuance to the term that brought character and personality. Like somebody's sitting there writing this stuff.
Listen,
it's incredible.
It's impressive stuff. To me, it's a game changer. And, sure, you guys are doing it, or if not, you're going to start doing it, or if not, you're going to advise your agents to do it. But in my company, once we get a new listing, I run the remarks to ChatGPT. Just basic. Let me just double check if it can be written better. And I send it back to the agent. Hey, I know this was your remarks, but how does this sound? And if it sounds great, why don't you just change it? And trying to already indoctrinate them in that culture of, hey, listen, you know what? We don't have to half-fast it anymore. Let me rephrase it. We should never half-fast it. But here, even less of a reason to half-fast it. And with ChatGPT, I think the biggest issue that agents have...
You can use your whole ass.
Listen, what agents get stuck, in ideas and what am I going to write? What am I going to do? And just to unstuck you, to me, it's a game changer. When you can get, what remark should I write? You know what? I'm not sure. Let me just write the adjectives with a comma and ask it to write it for me. To me, that saves so much time. And at the same time, it also adds time to it, because now I have more work, because I have more ideas and I have to refresh and personalize and put it all together. So I have a long to-do list of ChatGPTs. Now, my favorite ChatGPT request is, give me 5 good real estate jokes and I have those in my pocket.
Is that where you pulled those from?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's
For sure.
awesome.
For sure.
That's awesome. Some of them were good. Some of them were not so good. But either way, you came with content.
Yeah, they work.
Anyhow, so ChatGPT, it revolutionizes the way that we can not only run our own business as an agent, but how brokers can interact with their agents. And what you're providing right there and changing the listing remarks is of value. It is something of value your agents are taking away from you as a broker, as a mentor, as a leader.
Definitely.
And I'll never think of somebody's speech the same ever again.
Yes,
is the
and
problem.
for sure. I'm with you. I'm going to question everything. Did you write that? Or did ChatGPT write that?
And that's going to be the running joke. So as I follow you through social media, there's a different aspect of your life and your professional life as well. You're currently the active secretary for Florida Realtors, 225,000 members strong in Florida. That's massive. That's absolutely huge. It's a huge responsibility that you take on your shoulders, and we thank you for your volunteerism.
Thank you very much.
But part of your role and part of your involvement has been doing quite a bit of traveling and some public speaking and some interactions. Can you tell me a little bit about your trips overseas and where you spoke, what you spoke about?
So, Florida Realtors hasn't provided me a platform to speak outside. Usually when I speak in Florida, when it comes to Florida Realtors, it's usually at a district or some sort of district event where we're talking about, the products that Florida Realtors has, what we do from a legislative perspective, and what our mission is, as Florida Realtors, which is to protect our industry and the profitability of brokers. Besides that, I've been a keynote speaker probably for the last 10 years. I've been traveling around the world talking, and what I talk about is real estate at the speed of now. So a little bit of how I leverage technology to practice in today's market, get the most exposure, get the highest price, and how we do it leveraging tech. I've been very successful doing it in Spanish. People in Spain love to hear a Spanish person talk about real estate in America and how we practice. So that's resonated very well. Besides that, real estate at the speed of now, I also do a broker training that's very, very popular where I give people, an inside look at my company, how I run it, why I do the things that I do, how I do it, and the methodology behind it. And I think what people are just interested in is somebody who's successful and what are their techniques. Me and you've been in the industry for a while, and I know we know that my success is not your success. Everybody does things differently. But I think people want to hear, what we're doing in South Florida, which is probably one of the most competitive markets in the history of the world, what we're doing to stay relevant, what we're doing to get market share. And, I love to go on stage and really break down what we do, and it's no secrets. It's consistency and a lot of the things, that move the needle, but I think I have a very pretty way of painting it together and putting it together that resonates with the agents. It's probably the best way how I can put it together.
Nice. I really didn't have an idea. Yeah. So I appreciate that. And there's something that we can all learn from each other. And when we improve each other within even our same marketplace, everybody wins.
Hands down. I think that's a given. I'm a firm believer that I have no competitors in this business. I wake up and I compete against me every morning. Can I wake up? Can I make more phone calls? Can I do more? When it comes to teaching and showing people what I do, to me, it's one of my favorite things to do, only because it makes me feel that I'm doing things right when people look at me and when people listen to me. And as an independent broker, this as I do, we're not part of a huge franchise with 10,000 people, telling us, what they did in another state. We have to really invent as we go. We got to really pay tuition. We got to look at our markets and react accordingly. And for me, just to be able to do that.
So before we wrap up, we're gonna go one more thing that I started doing recently over the last couple episodes. It's the lightning round.
I love it.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a term and give me the first thing that comes to mind with you.
All right.
The first thing that comes to your mind. It can be a one-word description. It can be a short phrase, whatever you want to say.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Okay. Family.
The most important. Why?
Your why.
Definitely.
Okay. Exercise.
Need more of it.
Miami.
Number one place in the world.
Florida.
Number one state in the world.
Condo market.
Not going to do as good as my single family or townhouse market.
Commercial.
Industrial on fire. Multifamily on fire. Office, wait and see. Retail is my great hope right now.
Mentorship and training.
I think that in this business, when the going gets tough, we don't rise to the occasion. We actually compress the level of training that we have. And for me, when it comes to mentoring and training, it's necessary. Confidence is the only thing we sell in this business, and confidence is built by experience and training.
3 left. Social media.
The social media, the most powerful platform out there.
Agreed. New agents.
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10?
Make it.
Can you? Oh, okay. I was like, can you elaborate on that?
1 out of 10, make it.
Okay.
But I could elaborate. Do you have another hour?
Yeah, no, go.
No.
Let's go.
So listen, I think new agents, I think they're a double-edged sword. They're awesome. And a lot of them don't understand the real hard work that comes into this business. People think that it's really easy. And, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I had to really grind, and it took years to build a business. And people come in here, with very short-term mentality that, hey, things are going to go quick really fast, and then it doesn't. And for me as a broker, we invest a lot into our agents, and to get that 1 out of 10, it's tough.
All right, last one.
Go for it.
This one's a little deep.
Try me.
Legacy.
So I don't pay attention to it too much as I live it. Hopefully at the end of my tenure, my family and my boys would look back and say, hey, this guy woke up early every single day, gave it his all, and really tried to change the industry for the better. And if I can get anywhere close to that, I'm a winner.
I love that. What is your, this isn't the lightning round anymore, that's over, you can rest a little bit. But I'm going to ask you one last question and then ask you for some inspirations that our audience always takes away. Listening to podcasts, hearing speakers, motivating is always a big piece of everybody in a business mindset's day. So before we go to that, what's your lifelong goal? Where do you want to end up, or how do you want to finish? Could be professional, financial, familial, personal, whatever it might be. Where do you want to get to in life?
So you know what? It's very simple. I want to be on the beach with a drink in my hand.
Well, we could do that.
Yeah, but without any worries. So to be honest with you, I think where do I want to be? I definitely want to financially be put in a situation where my investments pay for the lifestyle that I want. Professionally, I want to be respected by my peers, and I definitely want to be a trendsetter and an innovator. Family-wise, I definitely want to keep my family together as long as possible, forever. And I got 2 beautiful boys, that I'm dying to see grow up. They're in high school and almost finishing middle school. So I'm enjoying, all these, parts of their lives, watching them grow. And I definitely want to be, a part of it more than anything. And spiritually, I don't know, you mentioned that. I just want to make sure I'm good enough to go upstairs.
Get through those gates.
Yeah, that's it. That's my goal.
All right. Now, before we depart, are there any speakers, podcasts, books, anyone that's been an influence on your life professionally or personally, either way, that you would suggest listeners go out and investigate?
So you know what, people come in and out of my life, and books come in and out of my life, during different times and sessions that are impactful and that change, who I am. I'm going to speak to you right now, and the book that is moving me the most is called The Good Life, and The Good Life has nothing to do with real estate. It's actually the longest running Harvard study on what makes people happy. And it's a 90-year study where they've interviewed, thousands of people throughout their lives. And, the results are moving. It reminds you what's important. It reminds me, at least, of all the BS that we go through in life and what's really important. And it reminds you that happiness is based out of it. So for me, it's a nice little reminder of where my mind needs to be in this crazy world that we live in.
Enjoy the ride, provide value to those around you, appreciate the moment, and you'll end up exactly where you wanted to be in the first place, and that's no bull.
Yeah, I love that.
Thanks, George.
Thank you for coming down. I appreciate
you, bro.